It just had to be Vini Jr., didn't it? Meanwhile, the Serie A somewhat redeems itself following Inter's embarrassment. Snoop Dogg is in the house at Swansea, and Onana is eyeing a return to United next season. This is DMAC Daily. New week, same opponent, same outcome, same dance. Baila Vini, Baila. Poor old Jose Mourinho must have been fuming with the Brazilian's latest outrageous antics, which is fair enough, I guess. I mean, Jose has famously never over-celebrated in the past, has he now? But on a more serious note, maybe he should do less talking about opponents inciting opposition and focus on his own recent shortcomings, because it's now been over a decade since Mourinho last won a UCL knockout tie, with Madrid's triumph making it 10 straight L's across 4 separate clubs for the special one. Granted, this wasn't vintage Madrid today by any means, but in fairly typical fashion, Los Blancos inevitably found a path to victory. That early goal conceded could have proven detrimental, but Tchouaméni's instant reply restored calmness, and thanks to a moment of individual quality by their Brazilian star, they advanced to the round of 16. That's why Vini's paid the big bucks. 62 goal contributions in 78 UCL games now. And if you look at his numbers throughout the last 5 years in this competition, he's maintained an elite level. So he's rightfully getting his flowers for another memorable night under the lights. But truth be told, he wasn't the real reason Madrid won today. The real MVP was down the other end via Thibaut Courtois, with 4 saves to his name, 2 of which were genuinely outstanding. I don't know where this Madrid side would be without their Belgian shot stopper. I feel like he's the type of player that will probably only be truly appreciated the day he's no longer there. Think about it. He rarely makes errors, and his goalkeeping fundamentals are world class. There isn't a more ruthless club in Europe perhaps than Madrid, but he's been so consistent over the years that next to no criticism has come his way. But individual praise aside, I still cannot envision this version of Madrid going all the way. I know they were missing the likes of Mbappe, Bellingham, Militao, and Rodrigo today, but they're just not a particularly fluid team, even when everyone's fully fit. Benfica caused them all sorts of problems. Against a more competent or ruthless opposition, I think they'll be severely exposed. Separate note, not a particularly good look for Madrid to display an anti-racism banner, and then in that same evening, fans are seen on video performing Nazi salutes inside the stadium and chanting fascist songs outside. Yikes. Moving over to Italy, and Juventus and Atalanta may have just salvaged the reputation of the Serie A, because 24 hours ago, the league was so down bad. Italy's strongest team by some distance, humbled twice by a Norwegian club in pre-season mode. Juventus came into their second leg against Galatasaray knowing a mammoth performance was required to overturn a 3-goal deficit. And fair play to the old lady. They showed up. The first half was a complete mismatch. It was honestly men against boys. If Juve had their shooting boots on, it could have been 5-0 easy. But the game completely turned on its head when a scandalous incident took place. Lloyd Kelly, who was already on a yellow card, goes up for a header and proceeds to inadvertently land on Yilmaz's foot. The referee then shows Kelly a second yellow for the challenge. Juve were rightfully incensed because Kelly's contact was entirely accidental. There's no intent to land on the player's studs, and in fact, he's actually pushed by Yilmaz, which greatly affected his landing. It was an incredibly harsh yellow card, all things considered. So I was expecting VAR to potentially revert this decision, but instead, they just upgraded it to a straight red. Insane. Genuinely one of the most farcical refereeing VAR outcomes I've ever seen. But despite the injustice, the 10 men of Juve continued to batter Galatasaray and managed to pull off a 3-goal comeback, taking the tie to extra time. It was an atrocious 90 minutes by the Turkish giants. Juve then continued to dominate this match in extra time, but inevitably ran out of steam, and Osimhen would then take full advantage. When he scores there, you can see he's almost embarrassed because this was such a diabolical performance. They sealed the tie late on thanks to Yilmaz's late strike. It was a heartbreaking outcome for the home side, but it was great to see their fans at least applaud their efforts despite defeat. They came oh so close to a legendary remontada, but Gala prevailed. Now this may sound harsh, but I don't rate this team. They were completely outclassed by Juve for over 70 minutes with a one-man advantage. Reaching the round of 16 is a great achievement for this club that is growing in stature, but I think they're going to struggle to progress any further. Their away record is atrocious in Europe. If they draw Spurs, they're in with a chance, but then again, Spurs in Europe are a different beast apparently. Staying in Italy, and fair play Atalanta, I was unfamiliar with your comeback game. Last week they stumbled to a 2-0 defeat away in Dortmund, but that was a rare blip in what has been an otherwise impressive mid-season resurgence. They're unbeaten by Italian opposition in their last 10 outings, so they came into this contest full of self-belief that they could turn it around, and they did exactly that. Goals from Scamacca, Zappacosta and Pasalic put them ahead before Adeyemi curled one in to level up the tie. It appeared destined for extra time, but in the 93rd minute, Ben Sebaini absolutely smashed Krstovic with a studs to the face challenge and was shown his second yellow. Samardžić stepped up and proceeded to hit top bins. That was one of the best high-stakes penalties I've ever seen, sending Ladea through to the round of 16 as the only Italian club remaining in the competition. There will also only be one French team remaining as reigning champions PSG eliminate Monaco. Akliouche hit the front in the first half, but a silly challenge from Mamadou Koulibaly saw him receive a second yellow, and 8 minutes later, it was 2-1 PSG. Teze struck late to make it 5-4 in aggregate, but PSG narrowly held on. Wout fast with a gilt-edged chance at the death. So the final 16 have been confirmed. The final draw itself takes place this Friday, so keep an eye on that. In terms of early favourites, it's tough to say. Arsenal and Bayern were outstanding in the group phase, but it's hard to go past the almighty Bodo Glimt. Truth be told, it might already be over. Just kidding. Chelsea are obviously winning this, duh. After all, we are the Club World Cup champions. Come on now. Moving to the championship, and forget about Wrexham, there's another Welsh side going down the Hollywood FC route in Swansea City. In July last year, American rapper Snoop Dogg became a co-owner of the club, joining a minority ownership group that includes Ballon d'Or winner Luka Modric and American media personality Martha Stewart. I mean, what a trio that is. That's prime MSN right there. Now, Modric and Martha are yet to make the trip to Southwest Wales, but Snoop Dogg finally ventured out and was met with a hero's welcome. In his first match in attendance, the Welsh side hosted Preston in the championship. Dressed in Swansea colours, the 54-year-old received a guard of honour from local youth players and was then serenaded by more than 20,000 supporters, twirling towels emblazoned with "Make Some Noise," an idea Snoop Dogg himself had requested to energise the stadium crowd. The match itself ended 1-1, with Swansea dramatically salvaging a point thanks to Liam Culler's 95th minute equaliser. Interestingly enough, Snoop Dogg literally predicted he was going to score. Before the game, footage shows Snoop in the changing room rubbing the number 20 jersey, saying he's going to get a goal Tuesday. At full time, he then went back into the change room and personally signed Cullen's jersey. Some traditional fans may be against this wacky celebrity ownership, but personally, I'm all for it. If they're well intentioned, it can genuinely be a positive influence for the club and the wider community it represents. Just look no further than all the success they're having at Wrexham. And finally, could Onana be on his way back to Old Trafford? Well, according to The Guardian, the Cameroon international, who is currently on loan at Trabzonspor in Turkey, has made it clear he intends to reclaim the #1 goalkeeping spot at Manchester United when his loan finishes in May. Despite losing the position due to 2 inconsistent years at the club, Onana signed for United from Inter Milan in July 2023 for an initial fee of about £44 million, but struggled with a series of high-profile errors that saw him dropped under the starting lineup. After countless mistakes, United then recruited young Belgian keeper Senne Lammens from Royal Antwerp for £18 million last summer, and he has since held the #1 spot, receiving widespread praise for his performances. With 5 clean sheets in 21 Premier League appearances, including that fantastic display in a recent 1-0 win away at Everton, interim boss Michael Carrick was full of praise, saying, "You want a goalkeeper to be reliable, trustworthy, and instead of creating the chaos, you want him to take the chaos away and calm things down." I think Senne Lammens is that. He's quite quiet at times and unassuming, but he's got a real steeliness. To step in, it's a big role for some. So yeah, I think it's borderline impossible that Onana would ever dethrone Lammens. No United fan ever felt safe with him in the net. In fact, many believe he is their worst ever goalkeeper. Lammens, on the other hand, has barely put a foot wrong and restored the confidence at goal in United, something that had been missing for years. Now, I will admit, this article itself is somewhat below the standard I usually apply to giving stories coverage because there's no direct quote from Onana himself. However, their correspondent in Manchester, Jamie Jackson, does tend to be fairly reliable with his reporting, and The Guardian is a decent football outlet. Put it this way, it's not The Sun we're talking about. But regardless, I seriously doubt United want Onana back in any capacity, whether Carrick is manager or not. He already had 2 years and chronically underperformed. I don't think this is a Robert Sanchez comeback story either, just quietly. But United fans, am I wrong? Let me know your thoughts on the controversial Cameroonian. Anyways, guys, that's all for today's DMAC Daily. Thanks as always for tuning in, and I'll see you tomorrow.